Voyage to now, from Jesus to Obama. Jesus was the first English slave ship to reach the Americas. It is commonly known as the Queen's Ship, as it was owned by Queen Elizabeth I of England and leased to John Hawkins. Hawkins later became known as the father of slavery, for it was he that initiated English trade in humans for money. Queen Elizabeth's father, King Henry VIII, purchased the Jesus from the Hanseatic League, a merchant trading company that operated in the North and Baltic Seas from the 12th to the mid-17th centuries. Hanseatic or Hansa came from an old High German word meaning guild, association, or union. The Hanseatic League was an alliance of about 80 cities, and their guilds governed a trade cartel among the cities along the coast of Northern Europe and its inland trade routes. Their reach extended beyond the Baltic, and the routes were often hazardous because of pirates and raiding parties. The League was a vehicle that allowed the merchants to band and travel together, combining resources and hiring guards for their voyages. The origins of the League date back to the rebuilding of the northern Germany town of Lubeck in 1159. During the 13th century, German cities began to dominate the trade of the North and Baltic, and Lubeck became the central trading hub. Due to Christian church sanctions, meat could not be eaten on Fridays and many other days of the year, and the German city of Lubeck's chief industry was fishing. The merchants of Lubeck had no means to transport their product to sale in other markets, so they aligned themselves with the merchants in the German city of Hamburg, shipbuilders who quarried salt from mines in Kiel. They used the salt to preserve the fish, which made it possible for the merchants to export fish to other markets. Other guilds from other cities formed similar trade agreements as the economic power of the Hanseatic League increased. The League's most successful joint enterprise was shipbuilding in the shipyards of Lubeck. It built cogs, and in the 14th century replaced them with a larger version called hulks. Hulks were replaced by carracks in the 16th century. The carrack was a dependable sailing ship with long-ranged capabilities in volatile and rugged seas. They usually contained 3 masts. The main mast and foremast were rigged with square sails, and the mizzen mast usually a fore and aft triangular lateen sail. It had a stern castle and forecastle, and they were the premier ships of the League. Jesus was a carrack ship built by the League's shipbuilding enterprise. After about 20 years of service in the League, it was sold to King Henry VIII of England. "20 years after he purchased it, and it had been bequeathed to Queen Elizabeth, she lent it to John Hawkins and blessed him with permission to sail to Africa. She allowed him to, and he agreed to, carry Africans to the Americas with their own free consent. Hawkins had a reputation for being a religious man who required his crew to serve God daily and to love one another. Within a few days after reaching Sierra Leone, they spotted a Portuguese ship. Hawkins attacked the ship. The Portuguese ship was crippled from the attack. Hawkins and his men boarded and raided the ship and took its cargo of about 300 slaves. He set sail for Hispaniola, or what's known today as the Dominican Republic. Though the first Jesus voyage was the advent of the English entering into the slave trade. In 1619, 20 Negroes were the first Negro indentured servants to come to the English colonies. In 1640, John Punch, a Negro indentured servant born around 1614, was the first documented African to become a slave in America. Punch and two white men, James Gregory, a Scotsman, and Victor, a Dutchman, escaped to freedom from a plantation in Virginia. They were captured sometime later in Maryland and returned to Virginia for a trial. A Virginia court ordered the three indentured servants punishment of 30 lashes each. Victor and Gregory were sentenced to serve an additional year of indentured service, which was to be added to the time remaining for their servitude. Punch, being a Negro, was sentenced to serve the remainder of his life in servitude to the plantation owner. Punch married, and his offspring grew up and freely married white women. A few months after sailing from Sierra Leone, the Jesus, with its cargo of 300 slaves, sailed into the port of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic.